Lightning starts in the storm cloud, where raindrops and ice particles collide, knocking off electrons and building negative charge toward the cloud bottom, while positive charge on the Earth's surface collects on the ground beneath the storm. When the imbalance gets too strong, negative charge starts forking downward, which draws a stream of positive charge from below. When the two meet, electrical current flows and a huge wave of positive charge surges upward, which creates the brilliant flash we see. Lightning can happen not just from cloud to ground, but also from cloud to cloud, and most commonly within the same cloud. Lightning sparks about 22,000 house fires each year in the U.S., most often in June, July, and August, and in the late afternoon and evening with a peak around 5 p.m. It often ignites the attic first. The best way to protect your house is with a lightning rod that looks like a metal stick on the roof or eaves to safely direct the energy into the ground. The top 5 states for lightning-related house fires in 2016 were Florida, Texas, Georgia, Louisiana, and North Carolina. In Louisiana, homeowner lightning claims that year valued more than $30 million.